let's finalize the heroine's left arm. Getting started, we'll just scrub through slowly so we have an idea of what we'll need to work on in this lesson. Alright, so because of us taking so much time in consideration into the blocking pass, and as well as tweaking a few areas in our polish pass, we've managed to take care of a majority of the movements that the left arm should have, except for the very end. And that's the only thing we need to concern ourselves with here. So let's go ahead and begin. We'll bring back our controls. Now this can seem quite complicated to animate an IK arm this way, to have some follow through and overlap, and to make it subtle. But we'll take this just one step at a time. So first, you can see that the in-between on 25 needs some work, so that we have a nice transition from 24 to 26. So let's go to 25, and we'll go ahead and bring the arm back just a little bit here. We'll also rotate the wrist to point forward for follow through. Great. Now, before we start to tweak any more of our wrist rotation, we're going to go ahead and break this down one layer at a time, meaning that we'll focus on the position of the arm, and then we can go back to add follow through. So let's get started here, taking a look at the speed at which it gets flung back. Let's have that momentum continue over to our left. And we'll also need to fix this hyperextension in the arm. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring it down and a little bit more to our left. And now for follow through, we can have it continue to move in that direction, but not as much. And I'll also start to bring it up slightly on 34. That might be a bit too much. So I'll just go ahead and drop it down some. Great. Now to continue, you can see how she starts to rotate back. We'll need the arm to move in the opposite direction, so let's go ahead and bring it back and start to translate it over to our right. Great. Now, taking a look at the Move Tool manipulator, if you find that it doesn't quite match mine, check to make sure that you're under local mode and not parent mode. At times, I switch back and forth between the two. We've been working in local mode and it's been doing a great job for us. But when it comes time to finesse this arm, we may want to use parent mode, because that will give us an idea of the axis we'll need to tweak in our curve editor. But for right now, it's not a big deal which coordinate system we're using, so we could always switch back to local, because we're just roughing in the arm. So we have it moving over to our right. I think that's a bit too much, so I'll drag it back over to the left. And then on 55, we'll want to drop it so we have a nice arc in the end. Let's go ahead and play this back. Great. We could always take a look at the arm's trajectory just to make sure that the arc looks nice. So taking a look at things here, it almost seems as if we can go ahead and drop the arm on 25 a bit more. Great, and we have this nice circular pattern at the very end, so that's going to work out well. All right, let's go ahead and turn off trajectories and play this back and see what else we may want to tweak before we finish up by adding rotation to the wrist. What I'd like to do here is just make sure that the arm moves smoothly from 26 to 30. So let's go ahead and bring back our curve editor. And again, just to make sure that we're tweaking the right track, we can switch our move tool to a parent space. So it's the z-axis we need to tweak here. Let's go to our z track. And you can see when we get to 26, this is actually the highest it is when we compare 26 to 30, when we'd actually want 30 to be a bit higher than 26. So I'll just simply move to 26, grab that key and start to drop it just a little bit here to smooth out the overall flow. Great. I'll go ahead and zoom in. Might want to drop it just a little bit more. And let's take a look at this. So as we play back, it's a bit smooth, a bit too smooth, if you ask me. So I'll just go ahead and actually just bring that key back up a little bit more. Much better. Great. All right. So at this point, we can take a look at the side view. I'd say that looks good. If anything, we may want to tweak the elbow on 44. I'll go ahead and grab the control object and just kind of bring that up a bit more here. And then as the arm drops on 55, we can go ahead and just drop that down a bit. Great. Okay, so let's say we go in and finish up by adding follow through to the wrist. And the only axis we need to be concerned with is what would be most noticeable, and that's the z-axis. So let's take a look at our follow through. You can see on 25 we've rotated the wrist forward, but on 26 we have this drastic change where it's flung back. So let's smooth this out a bit by rotating the wrist forward on 26 just a little bit more. And now we can add some overlapping action to rotate it back a few frames after on about frame 36. Great. Because of the speed at which it rotates back, we can then have it drop a few frames after that on about 43. And then as it starts to fall, again, we'll rotate it back on about 51. Just taking a look at the speed here. And then we could have it drop on 55. Let's play this back. Okay, great. So this is looking very nice. And before we go ahead and close off this lesson, I'm just looking at the speed again when the arm gets thrown back, because we just want to make sure that the timing is accurate here. And it still seems to move pretty slow. Let's hit play. So on 30, let's go ahead and move back to our curve editor, and we'll go back to the position Z track. Now let's go ahead and lift the keys on 30 as well as 34 so that action happens a bit faster. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this. That's much better. All right, beautiful. Well, we've taken care of the left arm, so we just have the right to worry about. And then we'll also just double check the entire performance, just making sure, again, it's exactly what we would like to see. And then at that point, we're finished. So just one more task, then we'll double check, and at that point, we can be very happy with our end result.